everybody. My name is Nancy LeBove. I am with Alumni in Recovery, and we are so very happy to be able to host Hard at Work alongside the Center for Alcohol and Drug Resources. We've got Morgan Kennedy on productions up here, and she's just amazing. She puts together this amazing event, and we have some wonderful officers to highlight. And as always, Prosecutor Musella, who comes and talks to us about what's going on in our county. And we have a very large county, and our county is like 70 towns and about 1 million people big. And to think that there's 70 different communities kind of just working on their own sort of, but here we are trying to collaborate and connect everybody together, because connection is the antithesis of addiction. It is really important that we connect. And I think it's also really, really important, and that's why we do this program, to highlight police and all you all do every day as people on the front lines, as our first responders here in Bergen County, helping people in the throes of addiction crises, mental health crises, and overdose calls. You are the first ones there, and that's got to be really trying. And I really just want to thank you. And I know that everybody in Alumni in Recovery very much thanks you very much for your service, for all you've done in this long, long battle that we've had with overdose epidemics here. And the prosecutor will talk more about that in just a moment. But I want to say that, first of all, back to community, what I really feel so close at heart here, especially doing this, is all you officers are people that are very committed to community policing and being there for your community, and actually having grown up in the communities you serve. And I think that that is just something that's really nice about Bergen County. And I also think it's really great that all of you have been educating yourself for quite some time about the disease process of addiction, and to better understand it so we can better prevent. And that's why we have Amelia Rostant here as well with us to talk about prevention. And so here we are. It's about to be a big snowstorm, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
right? Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of busyness. There's a lot of prep work for that in this county, and there's a lot of people that are prepared and ready to go. And I think that that's important, especially because the disease process of addiction is very hard for us to figure out how people that are, in the community that don't necessarily work in the fields that we're here to talk about, but that these people, how can they better prepare for helping each other prevent and find help and prevent overdoses? And how can we do that? And this is how we can. And this program will be on YouTube, and that will be available for everybody. And we will send the link out for that. It'll be also available on our Facebook page, Alumni in Recovery. So I just want you to be aware that that will be available. And the more information that we have in our heads, the better off we are to make mindful decisions about what we put in our bodies. I just want to thank Prosecutor Musella, especially because he's been taking on many, many passionate roles these days, and I am really impressed with his fentanyl initiative. I learned a lot from that. I really did. It's like a weekend seminar that he does in an hour, and it's just, he has been so great about going in and talking to students in schools on such a deep level of just to better understand what's going on in our country and right here in our communities, and how to safeguard. And I really want to thank him, and hats off to him for that. And I'm going to turn it over to him now, because he's going to talk about what we're doing in Bergen County.
Thank you, Nancy. As always, it's an honor to be here tonight and to join you and Dee and Morgan on this Hard at Work. So I want to thank you first and foremost for having this event every month, and really just highlighting the great work that the police officers are doing around the county, and just again drawing attention to this very serious topic. Every time you have one of these, I mean, what we're all in this together, and we all do this because we want to draw attention to the opioid crisis around the country, but especially in Bergen County. We want to help connect people to treatment, and we want to end the stigma surrounding substance abuse disorder. And events like this do that. And again, events like this save lives. So I want to thank you, Nancy, for just keeping up the good fight. And I also want to thank Dee and the Black Poster Project. And I tell everyone that anytime there's a Black Poster Project, I try and go to one. I ask that if you have not been to one, please go. It's a very powerful event. Nancy and Dee really work their tails off to have these events. A lot of work goes into it, but it's really worthwhile to go there. I'm trying to get the word out to have people go to these events. And Nancy spoke a little bit about the high school presentations that I've been doing. I've done about 30. I'm trying to hit all 70 high schools in the county. If you want a presentation at your high school, please just reach out to Carol in my office, and I will be there. If I can't make it, someone in my office will be there. Jen Wader has been there from the Narcotics Task Force, but I've done at least 30 myself personally. And Nancy and Dee were kind enough to bring the Black Poster Project to a couple of these events. I'm going to try to get them to more of these events. I think it's really powerful when we combine my fentanyl presentation with the Black Poster Project, have the black posters in the high school auditorium for these high school students to see, because really that's our target audience. That is the audience that's being targeted by the Mexican drug cartels. As Nancy indicated, I try to educate the high school kids to the fact that the cartels are targeting them. They're manufacturing fentanyl in Mexico. They're getting the precursor chemicals from China. They're flooding this stuff across our borders into our country, and they're targeting our youth, and they're killing our youth. So at this point, usually in my presentation, I talk about the numbers in Bergen County, and they're startling. What I tell the high school kids is what I'm going to tell you. We average between 6 and 14 homicides a year in Bergen County. But last year in Bergen County in 2023, we had 186 young people die of an opioid overdose relating to fentanyl. So that is that 186 of our young people in Bergen County were poisoned by fentanyl. Fentanyl that was transferred and transported and trafficked into the United States by the Mexican cartels. So if you think about that, 6 to 14 homicides we average. I think last year we had just over 6, but 186 young people died in Bergen County of a fentanyl overdose. And I call it a poisoning because that's what it is. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's made in a lab or a factory in Mexico by the Mexican cartels. It's 50 times stronger than heroin. It's 100 times stronger than morphine. And it can kill you. One pill can kill you because any powder or pill that you buy on the street contains fentanyl. We know that because 98% of our lab submissions come back positive for fentanyl. So that means that anything you buy on the street, whether it's a powder or pill, contains fentanyl, and it can kill you. And it's never more evident than the incident that took place at Riverside Square with the five waitresses that were working at the Cheesecake Factory. They purchased from a dishwasher what they believed to be cocaine. It was presented to them as it was cocaine, but it was not cocaine. It was powder that was laced with fentanyl, and one of the young ladies snorted the cocaine and wound up dying. I want to give a shout out to the Hackensack police officers who responded to the scene, administered Narcan to all 5 of them, saved the lives of 4 of them. But Michelle Ito, who was 29 and a single mother, succumbed to a fentanyl poisoning, and she died. I also want at this time, give a shout out to all law enforcement in Bergen County. Bergen County law enforcement officers deployed Narcan 376 times last year. In every town in Bergen County, Narcan was deployed by a law enforcement officer, and that's 376 lives that were saved by the fast action of a law enforcement officer in Bergen County. So my hat goes off to you. Thank you for your service, and just again, to all the law enforcement officers on the call, all 3,000, and to all 3,000 law enforcement officers in Bergen County. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the work you do every day. We're into this together, right? So I talk about our partners in the fight against opioid poisoning in Bergen County. So I just want to give shout out to the County Office of Alcohol, Drug, and Drug Dependency, the Center for Alcohol and Drug Resources, Bergen Newbridge Medical Center, who has 10 beds available for us at any given moment. The Black Poster Project at D. Gillen, Alumni in Recovery, Nancy LeBeau, New Jersey Recovery Advocates, and again, the 3,000 law enforcement officers in Bergen County, who are our partners in this fight against opioid poisoning. I'm doing these presentations. I'm looking for ways to get the word out with Nancy and Dee. How can we reach more and more people? And we've been doing the presentations. We have a hotline number now, which is 201-589-2976. Stop the ODs. And that hotline, we've connected over 500 people to treatment. And somebody mans that through grant funding and forfeiture money. Somebody mans that. And of course, it's through Children's Aid and Family Services. Someone mans that phone number 24/7. You get a live person. We've been doing pop-up tables across the county. We've been doing knock and talks across the county. We're using data to show, to follow up every time Narcan is deployed by a police officer or by someone in the hospital. We follow up on that Narcan deployment with a knock and talk at that person's house, try to get them the wraparound services and try to get them into treatment. So we're trying to attack this problem from all different angles. We're trying to get the word out. And again, I thank all of you on the call for being here tonight, because that's just what you're doing by being here. I finally just want to hold this picture up. This was, I don't know if you can see this, but Nancy sent this to me. And this was the Black Poster Project at Woodridge High School. Nancy and Dee were there. We had News 12 was there. And again, I spoke to the juniors and seniors at Hasbrook Heights High School with the Black Poster Project and with Nancy and Dee. And, we want to do more of this. So again, I have more high schools present, more high schools scheduled to do more presentations. But if you want a presentation for a high school group or a college group, please reach out and call us. So again, Nancy, thank you for the hard work, your hard work. Dee, thank you for your hard work. And to all the law enforcement officers on the line, thank you for your service and your hard work every day in keeping our communities safe. Thanks.
And thank you, Prosecutor Musella. You do a lot of hard work yourself, running from school to school, doing these presentations, which is important, because the other thing that you have mentioned in these presentations is that like 98% of what you have that come into your office that's confiscated is fentanyl. Is that correct? It's cut with fentanyl.
98% of our lab submissions come back positive for fentanyl. So that means anything you buy in the street is not what you're buying. So, you're the drug dealer that sells you something, or someone that shares something with you. It's not what it's purported to be. So that means when we arrest someone and they tell us, what is this substance? They tell us it's heroin. I asked for heroin. We send it to the lab. It comes back positive for fentanyl. If we arrest someone and we say, what is this substance? And they say it's cocaine. How do you know it's cocaine? That's what my drug dealer told me. Surprise, surprise, drug dealers aren't honest, people. Some of them know what they're selling you. Some of them don't know what they're selling you. But we take that cocaine, we submit it to the New Jersey State Police Lab. It comes back positive for fentanyl. Adderall pills, Percocet pills, oxycodone pills, methamphetamine. We've found it in every drug that we have confiscated. So anything you buy on the street contains fentanyl. And the DEA has estimated that 6 out of 10 pills bought on the streets in the United States contain a fatal dose of fentanyl. And that's because, again, these pills are not manufactured in a lab. They're not manufactured by Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer. They're made in these factories and labs in Mexico. They're not homogeneously mixed. So the pills contain different amounts of the substance. So one pill, if you get the wrong pill, it's playing Russian roulette. You'll have 4 pills. 2 pills will have nothing in them. 1 pill will be just right. the Goldilocks effect, we call it, and the fourth pill will have a hot dose and it will kill you. So that's what happened to the ladies at the Cheesecake Factory. There were 5 lines laid out on a table, and again, just Michelle Udo was the unfortunate one to get that hot dose, but she got the line that was laced with a deadly amount of fentanyl, and she died. So you're really playing Russian roulette with anything you buy on the street, because again, if it doesn't come from a doctor or it doesn't come from a pharmacy, you don't know what you're buying. And I'm telling you, 98% of the time it contains fentanyl and it can kill you. And that's the message we're trying to get out to the kids in high school. One pill can kill. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in today.
Right.
It's just fentanyl is everywhere. It's in everything. And the reason is because it's 50 times stronger than heroin. It's 100 times stronger than morphine, but it costs 1/5 the price. So for example, a kilo of heroin will go for $50,000 on the street, but a kilo of fentanyl will go for $10,000 on the street. And the drug dealers know that. It's more powerful. It's cheaper to make and manufacture, and it costs them cheaper, so their profit level is higher. And that's why they're putting more and more fentanyl into every drug that is sold on the street.
Thanks, Prosecutor. Really appreciate your words. So, all right. So we'll go on, and I think our next guest is Sergeant Christopher Bova. I'm just waiting for the screen. That's why I'm hesitating. Sorry about that. Detective Sergeant Chris Bova is from the Emerson Police Department, and I'm so very happy he's here with us. He actually grew up in Oradell and went to Riverdale High School. And I'd like to hear about all the good stuff that you're doing for your community, if you would, please.
Yeah. Hey,
Chris.
Nancy, how are you?
Good, Chris. I can't see you. You look like red.
Yeah, I think I'm having a bit of a problem with the camera on the computer.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. But I'll go on just with my voice then. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for having me on this call. I'm like very grateful to have this opportunity and to speak in front of such an amazing company, such as the Prosecutor and the Chief of Little Ferry and so many other comrades, other law enforcement officers. But people tend to think that this epidemic, it only is like sticks to a certain criteria. And I found working in the Pascack Valley that is just absolutely not the case. I can assure you that this epidemic is hitting everywhere, that it doesn't discriminate based on socioeconomic status, race, religion, creed, anything. It's here, and as law enforcement, we're trying to combat this issue. We do this through education and preparation. Programs like this spread the word, and at least in my department, I think almost every department in the county now is carrying Narcan. And I actually brought some Narcan here. I wish my video was working because I was going to show you how to deploy it. And I'm actually the Narcan coordinator for my department. And but we have these 4 milligram canisters. They almost look like Flonase canisters, and they you shoot the nasal Narcan up one nostril and then up the other nostril. You wait a minute. If there's no response, you reapply. This miracle drug saves lives. You can buy it at the local drugstore. Anybody can pick it up. And some of the proudest moments of my career, I think I've deployed Narcan 7 times. Some of the proudest moments of my career are using Narcan and saving lives. Every single one of those 7 people survived. And I'm very proud of that. As law enforcement officers, we want to break down a stigma of calling the police. For whatever reason, people have a hard time calling the police. And so many people are scared to call us out of fear of getting in trouble. And I assure you that under Good Samaritan law, that you will not get in trouble, that the role of the police is not to punish anymore. It is to rehabilitate and help. And I assure you, calling is absolutely the best option. So with that, I wanted to go over just the expectation, because it's easier to call if you have an expectation as to what's going to happen on the call. So When officers arrive on scene, they'll come and they'll assess the situation. First and foremost, they're going to medically treat the patient, the reason for the call. So often that consists of life-saving measures, which is possibly CPR, rescue breathing, or Narcan deployment. If these measures are successful, which a lot of times they are, of course, with the Narcan, we urge the patient to go to the hospital. We cannot force them to, but it's strongly urged to go to the hospital. After that's all said and done, we'll begin interviewing and collecting evidence. And I assure you that the collection of evidence is not to get anybody in trouble. It's strictly for gathering information, and it's to be put into a report called the OD map, which the prosecutor spearheaded. Once the scene is clear, an officer is going to leave a spare canister of Narcan behind for family, friends, or the victim. You know, that's a requirement. The county also mandated that, which is it's an incredible thing that they mandated that. You know, we're going to go back to headquarters, fill out the OD map, which is a program that tracks reported overdoses of any type of drug, whether it be cocaine, heroin, you name it, it's in there. This report goes as far to track the insignia that's on wax folds, so we can properly, you know, see what's laced with fentanyl. As the prosecutor said, I mean, it looks as though everything is laced with fentanyl these days. So, you know, we're trying to track it as best as we can through the insignia on these logos. And just to go a little further into Narcan, like I said, you can buy it at a drugstore. It really is a miracle drug. It saves lives. And the best part is if you deploy the Narcan and the person is not overdosing, the drug will have no effect on the person. So it's essentially shooting up. If the person's having a medical episode that's not related to an opiate, the person will essentially, it would be shooting water up somebody's nose as opposed to, you know, the drug. Obviously, if they're having a opiate overdose, it will work accordingly. So I always say, when in doubt, if you have any hesitation, just deploy the Narcan because it can't do any harm. So you absolutely should be deploying the Narcan if you can. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on some on a personal story of like some resiliency and some hope, because I think it's really important, because that's what this is all about, being resilient and, you know, knowing that there's a path to recovery and to help people. So my wife grew up in the town that I work in, and a close friend of hers overdosed on heroin. And I unfortunately was the responding officer to the scene. And I knew this person, and it's much different when you know the person that you're going to their house. So, you know, you have to put on your police hat, and you have to be a police officer, not a friend or not somebody that knows this person. So when I arrived on scene, we were met by the victim's mother, and she was a nurse, and she had already deployed the Narcan. She had Narcan on her. She bought it at CVS, and she had the Narcan. So she actually saved her son's life. I knew the son, so I was able to have a good conversation with him, and I convinced him to go to the hospital, which he did. And he got himself into a recovery program. And 6 years later, he is now clean. He has started a construction business. And he's not just surviving, he is absolutely thriving, and he's doing very well. So I would just want you to think about this. Anybody, if this can help anybody that's listening or that listens in the future, if you think that this cannot happen to you, if you don't think that recovery is not there for you, that is absolutely not true. This can be you. There is help and there is hope. And with resilience and hard work, because it's not easy. It's never going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. You can absolutely change your life. You can absolutely change your life. I just implore you to dig down deep and try your hardest.
Oh, those are great words, Chris. I first of all, thank you so much for mentioning the Good Samaritan law. We talk about that every time we go into the schools to speak to students. Our members speak about the Good Samaritan law just to keep it fresh in their brain, just to keep reminding them of that very important law and why it's in effect in this situation. And secondly, I love the story you just shared because it's so true. This is a disease process. this is not something people really, really choose once it's activated. It's very hard to come out of it, but to actually save somebody and give them an opportunity to begin their lives over, like you just described, is really the hope that is so available. So it's so important that everybody understands Narcan. And so somebody's gonna, now that Chris can't put his camera on, somebody's gonna have to find a Narcan sprayer.
Yeah.
Just for the
Yeah, I brought one open and I opened it. I was going to actually shoot. I was going to squirt it
Yeah.
up and I was going to show you, but
I know you were.
yeah,
But yeah, now it just got this red blur, but that's
yeah,
okay.
I see the red blur. I'm so sorry about that.
That's
Hey,
okay.
Nancy,
Yes.
I want to thank Officer Bova for his service. I mean, the fact that he deployed Narcan 7 times, that's 7 lives that were saved. And I really just want to give him a shout out and commend him for that. And thank you.
Oh, thank you, Prosecutor. I appreciate
That's
that.
tremendous. And I really want to point out what he said. He said that, and I told you, the officers in Bergen County deployed Narcan 376 times last year. There were 700 overdoses in Bergen County. And like Officer Bova said, it's all over the county, right? Every town in Bergen County, a police officer deployed Narcan. Every town had an overdose. There were 700 overdoses in Bergen County. It goes across all socio and economic and social norms, and it really affects everyone. And I just want to hold one of the maps that this map that demonstrates that, and I showed this again in my slideshow presentation. But that's if you can see, each red dot represents an overdose in Bergen County, and as you can see, it's all over the county. It's more focused near the George Washington Bridge in Patterson, of course, because that's where Bergen County residents go to get their drugs that are laced with fentanyl, and that's why officers in those towns that border Patterson and New York have deployed Narcan the most. But it's been deployed all over the county, and as you can see, each red dot represents one of the 700 overdoses. So it's not, it's not immune, and no one's immune to it, and no town is immune to it. And that's just to underscore Officer Bova's point. Thank you, Officer.
Thank you, Sergeant Bova. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing. So that brings us to Chief James Walters from Little Ferry Police Department, who grew up in Little Ferry, by the way, which I think is really cool. And that you always wanted to be a police officer. I read that. And that you have quite a long career in your police work, as well as having gone to Ridgefield Park High School, if I'm not mistaken, which is actually a high school that Little Ferry covers as well. I mean, it's part of a district. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And thank you for doing that little background on me, Nancy. I appreciate you and Morgan for the invite and having me on tonight. Sergeant Bova, that's a great story. Very rewarding when we hear somebody in recovery like that. Unfortunately, like Prosecutor Musella said, fentanyl is being laced in every type of drug today. It's not just heroin. And unfortunately, like we all agree on, substance abuse does not discriminate. And the burden that it puts on the families. And, there's one thing, I took this job, the main reason was to help people. And there have been countless times in my 30-year career where you see the effects of drug addiction, what it does to the family. And I can't tell you how many times the family would reach out to us, officer, what can I do? And, back in the day, the only answer was, well, you got to get them in rehab. And you would hear that family member say, we've been down that road numerous times. They come out and they have a relapse. So my story is, and it's a story of hope here, because back in June, Prosecutor Musella in the prosecutor's office put me in touch with Jessica from the Center of Alcohol and Drug Resources. And at that time, we partnered up, and it was where recovery specialists would come out And it's been spoken about the pop-up tables and the knock and talks. And they would come out and they would go to our motels. They would go to our liquor store, various locations in Little Ferry, McDonald's, and they would do a pop-up table and a knock and talk. And this went on for a couple of months. And I would have an officer stop by just to meet them and find out if they needed anything from us. And at one point, one of the recovery specialists said to me, "Hey, Chief, we could come in and we could speak to your department to let everybody know what we're about." And I said, "Great idea." So I brought them in, had them meet my officers, my tour commanders, even my dispatchers. And they spoke to us, told us exactly what they're about. So, you know, as a police officer in law enforcement, there's only so much we could talk to people. And with the uniform on, there's not that connection. You know, we could try to preach, how to get some help. But again, we don't have that relationship. So this organization is called Operation Helping Hand. And like I said, they come out, they do the knock and talks, they do the pop-up tables. And recently I had a friend of mine who works in town, and his stepdaughter got out of rehab, and 2 months out, she had a relapse. And his wife pleaded to him to reach out to me. So he called me. And again, in the past, my answer would have been, well, you got to get her back in rehab. But at this point, I said, we've been working with Operation Helping Hand. Let me put you in contact with somebody from there. So I called Jessica. And that it's such a useful tool that we have now in law enforcement. So he was able to call her, and they connected. And again, when you have a recovery specialist who comes out and speaks to you, there's a connection there. These are people that have been using substance abuse for years. Unfortunately, they've been arrested. They're able to speak to people through their experience. And in this case, because I spoke to him 2 days ago, I knew I was coming on, and he was so happy that she's doing so much better. And this was probably like 2 months ago that this happened. So, like I said, there is help out there. And with Operation Helping Hand, again, they come out once a month. They were here last Tuesday at a motel. They gave out 3 Narcan units by just doing the knock and talks. They have their card that they give out. Every one of our officers now has their cards on them. So when we do go to that home, or we do go to that overdose, we hand out the card and say, look, there is help out there. Keep this with you, make a phone call, and connect with that person. Because like I said, coming from us and coming from in uniform, people don't want to open up to you. People don't want to talk to you. It's hard to get that connection. But coming from somebody who's been through it, you have that instant connection. You really do. So it's been such a success. Like I said, this is going back to June. It's been about 7 months now. Once a month they come out. I'm happy that my officers all know about the program and that there is a useful tool out there for help for people. Like I said, unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common, the substance abuse and the Narcan deployment. But like I said, with this organization, there is help out there. I support it, and it like I said, it's such a good partnership that we are with with Operation Helping Hand and coming out once a month.
Thank you, Chief Jim. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The peer recovery specialist has really changed the landscape on how we can reach more people and help people find a path to recovery and a solution. It's been a great position that has been created, and Bergen County and especially Ellen Elias, she had a lot to do with that from the Center of Alcohol and Drug Resources, creating that role here in Bergen County. And it really has been quite helpful for so many people. So thank you. Thanks for
It's a
your
huge
work.
help. It's a huge help for law enforcement. It really is. Like I said, we never really had an answer back in the day, and now we do. We have some guidance here that we could steer in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a thriving recovery community here in Bergen County, and we have so many great resources on top of that as well. It's definitely a well-run community for sure. So I think that we'll just, with the words like that and just experiences, when we share experiences from our heart, it really helps people better see how they can identify. And again, it's connection. And that really does make people feel that they are not alone. And that's probably the most important thing we can do for anybody. So thanks, especially in an epidemic. It's very important.
And Nancy, if I could just, again, I want to give a shout out to Chief Walters. Thank you for that story, Jim, and for the great work you guys are doing over there in Little Ferry. And I just want to call attention to what he was talking about. The Operation Helping Hand model of having the recovery specialist there and the patient navigator there has really made all the difference. Like the chief said, people that are struggling with opioid addiction, they don't want to talk to a police officer. There's distrust there. There's still distrust there, even though we've made great inroads with treating people with dignity and respect and trying to get the word out that we're here to help you now. And we have so many different diversion programs. We're not here to lock you up and put you in jail. There's still that distrust for law enforcement. And that's where, Children's Aid and Family Services and Ellen Elias and Jessica, and that's where they come in with the recovery specialists and the patient navigators, people that they trust them now. And so more and more people are connected to services. And so again, this is the card, this is the hotline number. I hand this out at the high school presentations. We hand them out at the pop-up tables. But this hotline is manned by a recovery specialist and/or patient navigator from Children's Aid and Family Services 24/7. And, it's really a one-stop shopping because like the chief said, I was a defense attorney back in the day. And I remember our clients would come in and they would be, it was clear to me that they were addicted to some type of substance. And I would give them, I remember my secretary, Chris, had basically it was like almost a phone book of all, just drug rehab services, inpatient, outpatient. And I would make a copy of it and I would give it to them. But, I would call or my secretary would call, but they didn't want to talk to us. They wanted to talk to a family member or the person that was struggling. And I would give it to them, sometimes to the family members. And, the onus and the burden was on the family member to call all these places and find, and like who took insurance and who didn't take insurance and do they need inpatient, do they need outpatient, and, are they on medication? So, I sent a letter to the bar with this phone number. And like the chief said, it's a one-stop shopping. You call this number, that patient navigator, and that will walk you through it. And the peer recovery specialists will walk you through it, and they'll determine what level of service you need and what is the best place for you, and they'll connect you with treatment. So they take all the legwork out of it and all the guesswork and all the hard work that was really burdensome to the family that was dealing with a person that was, substance abuse addicted. On top of it all, now they had to do all this work and they were ill-equipped to get this person to recovery, as was I as an attorney and as was the police officers. It was really just, you were poking around in the dark. And now I think, again, based on the work of all our partners, it's like one-stop shopping now. And I sent a letter to the bar to all the attorneys that, the criminal defense attorneys that have the clients that, again, that may be the first connection, the first step to connecting someone with treatment is the attorney. So again, we're attacking this at all different angles. And again, I just want to thank Chief Walters for bringing that up. And I want to thank Children's Aid and Family Services, Ellen and Nancy and Dee again. This is like, we have to connect people to treatment in any way we can. And this is really by far been our greatest tool so far. So thank you.
I got my video working, Nancy. If you want me to show you the Narcan, I restarted everything up, so I got a video here now.
Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So this is the nasal Narcan. It looks like a little Flonase canister, and there's a red button under here, and you're gonna insert it up the nostril, and you just squirt the button, and it's like a mist. And right there, it just went off. And what you do is you shoot it in one nostril, you take the other canister, you shoot it in the other, and hopefully that works. And then if it doesn't work, you wait a minute and you re-administer. We used to have these glass vials, these really intricate things you had to put together. You had to pop off a cap. It had a needle in it. You had to screw it together. You had to screw off the top, and it was kind of problematic because if you cracked the canister from over tightening, it would actually destroy the Narcan. So in a high stress situation with an unresponsive party, it's kind of difficult to put something so intricate together. So they came out with these little Flonase things, and they work a lot better. High stress, just press a button and it works. So they really are. These drugs are miracle workers here.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for all the work you do around educating people on how to use it.
Absolutely.
In your town. So, all right, Amelia Rostant, you are one amazing rock star in the world of working in the field of prevention. I know that you just started over at the center, I think, in October. And I see that you were actually a youth development specialist at Dwight Morrow High School too, where we speak, and that is just that's a really good experience there, and I'm sure you've helped a lot of people. So I can't wait to hear what you had to say, what you're doing over at the center.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. First of all, I'm just so honored, and it just fills me with a lot of joy and pride that I'm here with such esteemed people who are actually taking their jobs and what they do so seriously, especially law enforcement. Really sort of warms my heart that transition is happening where law enforcement is coming in as community partners and really stressing being able to assist and help and wanting to be a partner in recovery and rehabilitation rather than coming in as a force of, to lock people up and so forth. I mean, it's just literally, it warms my heart. I'm amongst my people. I'm retired from the New York State Department of Corrections. I was a transitional services regional coordinator, and I ran the transitional services department services for 17 jails in the lower Southern District of New York State. So that's where I retired from, went ahead and became a youth development specialist over at Englewood. So I had the middle school and the high school, and I developed programs for there. And then I was asked to come over to be the supervising prevention consultant for NJ4S. And I work with those esteemed colleagues. I share those recovery specialists that you talk about at TCADR, and I hear them, and they are absolutely remarkable. I hear them on the phone. I hear them, going out to calls. I mean, and they work constantly, and they are so passionate about what they do, and they are dedicated, and they are truly an inspiration. Okay. So I just wanted to get that out the way. So NJ4S, right? New Jersey, statewide student support services. It's a initiative, a statewide initiative that is funded by DCF. And what we are tasked to do is to provide wraparound prevention services and clinical services for students K through 12 throughout New Jersey. Bergen Hub, the largest hub, is tasked with delivering these services to our 79 school districts, 133 schools, 133,228 students in our county. How do we do that, right? So we are, the grant came through Children, AIDS, and Family Services, right? Through the Center of Alcohol and Drug Resources. And we are, you know, the prevention specialists, the prevention giants, right? We provide, we have a coalition of partners that provide the clinical services. So Children, AIDS, and Family Services, TCADR, provides the prevention side. And we have the clinical services, and that is, we're partnered with the clinical giants in our county: CBH Care, Care Plus, West Bergen, and Vantage. Right, so we deliver our services, our prevention and clinical services, in a multi-tiered system of care. So we have tier 1. Think of it as a pyramid: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is all our prevention services, all of those services that you enjoyed from TCADR, all of those prevention services, thinking about our tabling events, thinking about going in and doing sort of our vaping, sort of our anti-vaping assemblies that we do. We do coping and resilience events, workshops, and so forth. Think about those type of programs that we bring into our communities. Think about us doing those in libraries, community centers, YMCAs. We bring the services to the community, right? Tier 2 is consultation and intervention, and also bringing a more personalized service to the schools specifically. So think about when you're doing those in-school assemblies, like you do, Prosecutor, or you're doing, we're doing sort of a coping and resiliency sort of workshop, or we're doing, you know, any one of the coping and resilience, like I said, teen pregnancy prevention, you know, healthy relationships, those type of programs that we bring into the schools. And aside from that, we also provide clinical services. So for instance, if we have students or group of students who are identified as, you know, having chronic absenteeism, or they identified as having high anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations, and so forth, we are able to provide clinical services and intervention for those students, right? In small groups. And that's all in the schools, and that's all school driven. So if a school identifies a certain issue that they're experiencing, they'll then call us, and we will come in and do, you know, whatever program, or bring whatever program that we need to address the issue in the school. And I should have started off with, and they always tell me to start it off with, it's all absolutely free, okay? Tier 3. Tier 3 is specifically individualized clinical services. So you have those students that have been identified by any one of the school professionals that are having real issues. You know, they're having issues, and they need a little bit more of intensive services. A clinician will go in, do a consultation, do an intervention consultation, and then a referral. And that referral is that connective sort of tissue that we have, where we are not only helping them navigate the system of care, referring them over to the CBH Care, or referring them over, you know, to a Perform Care, or even calling mobile crisis. Our clinicians will not only do that handhold and that sort of, you know, handover at referral and firm handshake, we call it, to make sure that they're getting to their make sure they get a clinician, make sure they're getting, you know, the first appointment, but they're also providing intermediate care once they are actually, you know, once they're waiting for that next step, or once they're waiting to get those services. So, you know, it's pretty much what you guys are doing already, what we're doing in recovery support, but we're actually doing it for the students on the education side. So we're providing wraparound services, you know, to ensure to provide equitable access for our students for their mental and psychosocial well-being. That's what we do for NJ4S. And I'm just so happy to be here and to be part of this. And thank you.
So happy that you're here too. It's so great to meet you. And is there a way that people could get in touch with you if they need to find your services?
So we're community based, and we're basically in the schools. So we're going to different we're going to all the schools throughout Bergen County, just letting them know that we're here, and the services that we provide. But I can always, Morgan did tell me to give you to have some information up, but you know, Morgan, you know me. But I'll be able to send it in the chat. I think my colleagues are on the line, so maybe they're able to send over, to put something in the chat for us. But yeah, we're in the schools and we're all over Bergen County, and meeting with the superintendents, meeting with the child study teams, meeting with the guidance departments, and we're making our rounds. So,
Great.
we're here. But thank you so much for having us and having me. I really appreciate it. And everyone on here, I mean, honestly, I'm just so heartened. You don't seem to understand how heartened I am by the work that we're doing in Bergen County. I'm so proud to be part of this community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Amelia. Everybody's doing such good work over there at the Center for Alcohol and Drug Resources. And so I don't think Mike Paolello from Bergen Newbridge is with us tonight. Am I right, Morgan?
I don't see him.
Yeah, I think he had an emergency birthday dinner with his son, which is a wonderful thing. So he said that I could actually kind of just mention a couple things about Bergen Newbridge. I used to work at Bergen Newbridge as a nurse at one time, and I worked there for a long time, actually. And there's a couple of things that I think that everybody should know about Bergen Newbridge as far as their addiction services go. And that is that there are 100 beds. And like the prosecutor said, they have 10 beds that they hold just for I believe the prosecutor's office, but they have 100 beds in detox and rehab combined. And some of those are what's called co-occurring disorder units, where people have mental health crises and addiction issues going on at the same time. And they have a very, very good doctor over there named Dr. Accurso, who does the treatment within the detox and oversees all of the addiction services. And they're doing some good work over there. And they also have a recovery center that people can drop in and get more help. And the recovery center also is within the units as well. And it just helps provide a lot of different, follow through. But Bergen Newbridge, with Alumni in Recovery and the Black Poster Project, always does what's called Black Balloon Day event on the Bergen Newbridge. Here it is, right here. It's a flyer. On the premises, they have these big annex tents that they used when COVID first started. They're the vaccination annexes. I have Dee with me on this call. Dee, are you there? Hello. It's my partner. Hi.
Hi, everybody. You want me to talk about it?
Please do. Of course you should talk about it.
I just want to take 2 seconds and back up to Chief Walter's comment when you referenced back in the day. You couldn't have said that any better. What an old-fashioned statement, but I just felt it when you said it. 18 years ago when I started my journey with Scott, it was back in the day, and none of this was here. Everybody that's on this call, every entity, every type of help, it's just amazing to me. I look at it now and think how it was back then. Back in the day, we didn't know what to do. And, we turned to our police all the time. But, like you said, back in the day, it was totally different. So I just want to thank you all, like every single person that's here in every capacity. It just is so important. You have no idea the people you're reaching, even though you might not even know it. So just to say those words tonight just really hit a nerve with me. But anyways, I want to talk about Black Balloon Day. We're doing our yearly Black Balloon Day celebration on Tuesday, March 5th. Black Balloon Day is the 6th. But we have a few high school displays between Alumni in Recovery and Black Poster Project we're doing together. So 5th it is, March 5th, we'll be at Bergen Regional. And I also have one surprise that I'd like to announce tonight because I'm really excited that we've just been confirmed that we'll be in St. Patrick's Cathedral on August 31st with the poster project and Alumni in Recovery too, because I'm going to force Nancy to come with me.
Wow, that is just so exciting in New York City. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope to see you all at one point at one of our displays.
Yes.
A lot of our
And the
parents here on this call who have lost people in the project. So, you know, we're a force for sure. And we're all behind what you guys are all doing too, even though our story for the most part is over, but we're behind everything you're doing so we can help you help others.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And so Prosecutor Musella, you'll most likely be at Black Balloon Day and the event, and everybody's invited in the county. It is a working weekday, but we are really encouraging.
I'll be there.
To come out. Great, great. All right, and so that pretty much it's 8 o'clock. But I just want to point out that if you want to get in touch with us, you can always just scan this this QR code, www.alumniinrecovery.org. It's a great way for local people to get involved and be empowered to make a difference in our county. Together, we can do this together. And there's also the information for the hotline support number. Call or text 24/7 and stop the hashtag stop the ODs. So, Prosecutor Musella, would you like to say anything to close us up?
Yeah, I just want to mention two things that I neglected to say. First, I'm happy to finally report that I have in my hands, it's on my desk somewhere in that pile, the order that Judge Coutinho signed, finally authorizing the recovery court. So we should have that up and running in Bergen County Central Municipal Court in the next 2 weeks. That is going to be a central municipal drug court, if you will. We started it with the Fairlawn project. We regionalized it into 5 courts. We finally, after a year working with the AOC, Judge Rabner, Judge Grant, and Judge Carol, Honorable Presiding Judge Carol Coutinho, Assignment Judge Carol Coutinho, we now have been authorized to start our recovery court in Bergen County. And I think it's going to be, it's going to be a game changer. Every single one of the 70 municipalities and police departments can now refer cases. The prosecutor can refer cases that they deem appropriate. Anyone that is suspected to be suffering from substance abuse disorder, shoplifting cases, anything that touches on someone that is addicted or suffering or struggling, their case can be referred to Central Municipal Court, which will be a 5-day-a-week court. Well, they're going to have a 1-day-a-week, but it's a 5-day-a-week court. But 1 day a week will be dedicated to substance abuse disorder, to recovery, and they're going to have patient navigator there and recovery specialists there, and these people would be put into treatment that day and connected to services that day. So I think it's just really something that I'm proud of, something we've worked really hard here at the prosecutor's office to get done. It took us a year or 2 years. I think I've been promising you this, but it's finally going to happen. And lastly, I want to mention that, and I've been talking about this at my fentanyl presentations, but we indicted last week 5 strict liability drug-induced death cases. It's the first time in Bergen County that we indicted these cases. These are for the traffickers and the distributors who know that the product they have is fentanyl, have distributed or transferred that fentanyl to someone. Someone has died as a result of that that drug transfer or that drug distribution, and we now indicted those people for first-degree strict liability drug-induced death. It's a subsection of the homicide statute. It carries 30 years to life. We've already gotten calls from 3 or 4 of the defense attorneys that they want to plead guilty to an aggravated manslaughter charge, which is going to be prison somewhere between 20 and 25 years, or maybe 15. Like the point is that these are people that otherwise would not have been going to jail as a result of distributing fentanyl, because the fentanyl charge is only a second-degree charge. And it's been very, very hard to prove that they have fentanyl, they know it's fentanyl, they distributed as fentanyl, and someone died. That's a very hard case to prove, but we put a lot of time and resources and effort into these cases, because these are people that are not just someone that's casually, buying fentanyl and sharing it. These are people that are moving large quantities of fentanyl in our county, and they're killing the young people in our county. So I'm very proud of that. We're going to have a press conference on both of those issues coming up in the next few weeks. So I just wanted to, again, for the police officers out there doing the work every day, thank you. We're gonna punish the traffickers and the large scale distributors, and we're gonna get more and more people into treatment as well. So again, we're attacking this from the law enforcement and addiction side, and we're attacking this from the recovery and connecting people to treatment side. So just wanted to put that out there. And again, thank everyone on the call for being here tonight. And again, just get the word out. Let's get the word out there that we can save lives if we spread awareness.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you again, especially to our officers. You really are making a world of difference, and we really do honor your work. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Dee.
Thank you, Nancy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You'll find this on YouTube later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night.
Yeah. Have a good night.